struggling to come to grips with reality. Confusion and chaos have become part of me. I seek answers to know where my liberation lies. Only in peace and calmness does that clarity arise. Transmissions of wisdom bring me insights of reason. Let my mind expand to the higher states. My mortality is no longer at stake. Let me hear the wisdom transmissions. The wisdom transmissions. So many voices, so many interpretations. No answers given, only outer temptations. Where can I find that truth inside of me? Realization of what I am is all I'm wanting to see. Transmissions of wisdom bring me insights of reason. Let my mind expand to the higher states. My mortality is no longer at stake. Let me hear the wisdom transmissions. The wisdom transmissions. No more redirection, ending the contemplation. Forget fighting reflection. Outer world's a projection. Internal is the cause, external's an effect. Put it on pause. I'm silencing the noise, centering, entering void. Truth is beautifully subtle, the voice without a voice. Heart and mind shall settle, making decisions now, escaping illusions of choice. Transmissions of wisdom bring me insights of reason. Let my mind expand to the higher states. My mortality is no longer at stake. Let me hear the wisdom transmission. The wisdom transmissions.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of the Wisdom Transmissions webcast here on Friday. Now, of course, I was not able to do it on Wednesday. I had other commitments I had to take care of. So it's a kind of a special episode today. One of the announcements I want to make is if you go down to the video description, you just open up the video description, you'll see my link there directly to my TikTok. Okay, so that is tiktok.com/@wisdom_transmissions. Starting next week, I'm going to be putting a lot more content on my TikTok channel. Now, of course, I'll still be here for the weekly webcasts, and I'll still do the Akashic Intelligence report here as well too. But I'm building up my TikTok because, frankly, it's a lot more easier to reach people with TikTok than it is to reach with YouTube. So I'm going to be putting some kind of small episodes, kind of like Akashic Insights, Adronis Insights, so to speak, on my Wisdom Transmissions TikTok channel. Okay, so just go down to the video description. You'll see the TikTok link there. If you're already on TikTok, you can feel free to follow me there. But next week, starting next week, I'll be doing some small videos there, maybe some big ones, we'll see. Anywhere from about 1 to 10 minutes, just about a lot of stuff. And I think it's time a lot of this stuff comes out, because I've been holding on to it for quite a while, and I think it's time now that more information comes out, going a little bit more deeper, and like I said, trying to keep it short and sweet, because there's so much BS on the internet. It's unbelievable. There's so much stuff and there's so much garbage on this internet. 95% of it is just trash, right? And it's just a matter about being able to help bring out the bigger picture in all of this. As I talked about in my last Akashic Intelligence report, I was talking about the idea of the mainstream media and the opposition media, and how both of them are pretty much garbage. Okay? Because like I said, you have these really amazing whistleblowers who are able to present information about how it is, to basically give you the entire blueprint of the system. Nobody wants to talk to them. Not Joe Rogan, not anyone. You name them, like Tucker Carlson or other. They don't want to talk to these people because, yeah, of course, they think that their lives are going to be in danger, but they don't want the truth. They want basically to reveal information while at the same time trying to keep their audience strong and keeping their ratings together and so forth, and monetizing and all that stuff. So I'm sorry, guys. It's just 90 to 95% of the stuff on the internet is full of that useless crap, and all it is sanitation. We'll give you some encouraging news, but well within the sanitation of the system. Okay, so like I said, if you have not seen my last episode with Akashic Intelligence Report, I'd suggest you check it out, right? Because this is just getting ridiculous. Really, here's what I would say to everybody who really wants to say, Brad, can we really go deeper? Because I agree, there's people like Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan and so forth, and they may help to a certain degree, but they don't go all the way. And I said, well, that's by design, right? They're on the radar. You got millions and millions of followers. You're on their blacklist, and if you basically try to say anything, and I can understand that they're afraid for their lives, right? But you're also at the same time doing things that are helping people understand what is really going on in the world. This is why so many people are confused, because we keep looking at the small pictures. Unfortunately, those particular types of hosts and celebrities and influencers, so to speak, do not see the bigger picture. They don't know what the hell is really going on. And I'm focusing much more on the bigger picture to bring this to you guys. So I can't guarantee I'll have an audience like that, but basically I'm tired of this systematic sanitation garbage, and it's time that we started shooting the shit as it really needs to be shot, right? So I can't guarantee if there's a lot of people that are tuning into me or not, but this is what has made Wisdom Transmissions good, is because I come on here, guys, and I do my best to convey the truth from what I'm receiving when looking at the bigger picture of things. Because people who look at the bigger picture of things are very rare. Okay? There's not a lot of us, right? The person I would say that has really done a very good job in trying to bring as much content out and basically has himself prepared for that would probably be Stephen Greer. Okay? The reason why I'd say that is because he actually has a dead man's trigger on him, right? So if anything happened to him, there'd be all of this particular type of data dumps going into all these big popular international journalists and so forth. That's a guy I would say is pretty much closer to trying to reveal a lot of things more than anyone else, is someone like Stephen Greer, right? And a lot of respect to him. I know I've had some qualms about his stuff in the past, but just in the way that he operates himself, that he carries himself out, and he has a dead man's trigger, that's what you want, right? And like I said, he's got millions and millions of people following. I don't have millions. I got thousands, right? And I'm not really on that particular list. But if I get like over 1 million people, a couple million people in that way, then I probably would be, right? But I don't know. I'm not really aiming for that. I'm just saying I'm just going to do what I can to share what I can, because I have this ability to go into the right brain, to go into the Akasha, to look into these particular things, and just share what I can to all of you. Okay, so this is why I suggest please go on to my TikTok, subscribe there, because next week I'll be putting in some more content with TikTok. I'll try to do that regularly. You'll probably see me in my truck talking and and stuff like that. So I think it's just time. It's just time to get all this stuff out, because that's what I'm going to talk about today. Once we get through the announcements, we're going to get into the announcements here in just a second. But I'm going to be having a message for Canada and all about the North American Union, because that's where we're going now. We have basically seen, no, Brad, don't. I'm not trying to go into it right now. No, wait. Let me do the announcements first. Then I'll get into that message. And now it's time to shoot the stuff, right? All right, let's go ahead and get started here with announcements first. So, like I said, Ancient Egypt, Halls of Amenti Tour, The Higher Self, the Akashic Records, and Star Ancestor Initiation. 9 days and 8 nights tour to Cairo. We're going to be going inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. We're going to have a trip there. We're going to have an amazing Nile cruise. You're going to have interactions with Adronis. We're going to be seeing things in ancient Egypt. I call it ancient Egypt, but modern day Egypt. But again, bringing that kind of ancient knowledge and ancient phenomena to ourselves as we explore ancient Egypt. So this is taking place November 8th to 16th. You can register now at wowtours.de. I think we just have maybe 1 or 2 spots left. I think we're pretty much almost sold out. So grab that. If you've been to Egypt before, fantastic. It's not like what you're going to experience here. This is going to be something that is going to be truly mesmerizing, amazing, wonderful. Having this particular type of connection, I'm so looking forward to this. I've wanted to go to Egypt since I was a little kid. And now the time is coming. It's going to be amazing. So that is happening November 8th to November 16th. Go to wowtours.de, check it out, and you can register there. Okay, moving on. Okay, so with Etherics right now, we do have 40% off certain items. Now these ones here are all free shipping. So these are the 30-ounce thermoses. We also have Earthing and Safeguard Universal Car Seat Covers, Earthing Safeguard Front Row Car Mats. So this is helping to clear out a lot of the emissions, especially the electrical emissions of your vehicle. Works really well. We got Etherics clothing, we got Prana bed kits. All of the Etherics card decks, the body deck, the mind deck, the energy deck, both the printed and the digital versions right now are 40% off. Okay, we also have the wooden wall arrays. Those are also 40% off. And anything we engrave. Okay, so looking at bowls, looking at plates, looking at the keychains, everything that's engravable is also 40% off right now. Everything else is 30% off. So you can check that out now at etherics.co. Wisdom transmissions. So again, if you do want to have live sessions with me, I am available. I'm starting to book now for May. I got a few sessions right now already in May. So you can check that out. But again, if you want to do offline sessions, 3 questions by email. Now some people will try to contact me and do private live sessions when I want a body scan, like a full body scan. I said, please don't, because with a full body scan, I'm tackling a lot more areas, and it does take me some time to get a full body scan going. And you're really just going to be sitting with me for about 45 minutes quietly while I'm doing all this work, and you're going to get really bored. So please don't use a private live session for a full body scan. Please just go to the full body scan. If you see something, okay, Brad does the Akashic Records, then you go to the Akashic Records sessions, right? Brad does full body scan, then go to the full body scan. Brad does 3 questions by email, then do 3 questions by email, right? Energy cord attunement, go to the energy cord attunement. That's why they're there. They're niche sessions. So check that out. Again, we have online courses. We have the Adronis Classroom happening every Sunday. You get a 7-day free trial when you go through the Adronis Classroom, okay? So you just go on this page right here, click up Sign Up Now on Patreon. You get a 7-day free trial membership with Adronis, which means you'll get a free class, okay? And if you love what you see, you also get the Adronis 4-phase courses included. That's over 12 hours of Adronis insight going all the way back to 2009. It's amazing. So you can check that out as well too on wisdomtransmissions.com. Then we have Predict My Astrology. Okay, so we have the 3 different types of reports, 3 different types of systems: Vedic astrology, Western astrology, and Chinese astrology that you can look into. We also have the different reports. Okay, the personal mantra report is for Vedic astrology only. Personal question report, oh, one sec, guys. There, had to sneeze. Personal questions report is good for all 3 systems. All of these other ones are good for all 3 systems. Topics report, love compatibility report, 2025 annual report, how's things looking for your year. You can check that out through any of the 3 systems. And of course the deluxe report, which is all in one, right? This is a 24-hour money-back guarantee, which means just go on the site, you order, and if I don't have the report given to you within 24 hours, it's free, okay? No other Vedic astrology, no other astrology website does this. So we're the only one. So check that out, predictmyastrology.com. Then finally, we go to Brianne's website, Readings with Brianne. Brianne, again, is doing really well. She's going to be doing another webcast on Monday. She's just getting some of her clients together. So again, if you've had some really positive experiences with Brianne, make sure you're telling her, your friends, your family about her. She does incredible work with her readings. Again, tarot reading, crystal ball readings as well too, feng shui. You can check that out at readingswithbrianne.com. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started here with wisdom transmissions today. I'm not bringing in Adronis for the presentation today, so if you call it a presentation, but he will be available for Q&A later on. Okay, we're going to be getting into Q&A here in a little bit. All right, so Brad, it's time to shoot the stuff, right? So again, I have quite a lot of Canadians on my channel, and I think even the Americans and people from all over the world were looking at the Canadian elections and how much of absolute BS that it was, okay? And of course, it's supposed to be. Elections are BS because they're not real. You guys don't have voting power. Simple as that. You have votes that favor the elites. You have votes that favor the system. And those particular controllers that control the system don't give a good goddamn about your vote, right? And, you know, people want to go out and they want to vote, and that's great, right? But the whole idea is that it really is the sign of the times, right? It's the nature of the system itself to determine exactly where a country is going, right? For the United States, people basically said that Trump would happen. The reason why Trump was able to get in is because he has so much support with him. He has military with him. He has people in Secret Service and secret agencies that are completely behind him, and they have the power to prevent a lot of rigging. Canada doesn't have that yet. Canada's still divided. Canada's pretty much dead now. We have killed our country, and it is unredeemable. That's what's happened to Canada. Canada's dead. We basically had an opportunity here, and just seeing exactly how much support in regards to the opposition party, and you pretty much know what I'm talking about, was there to see if maybe there was a lot of preventing of tampering, kind of like what Trump would have with his supporters. There's a lot of preventing of tampering because he had such a great, overwhelming amount of support for himself. Very different story for Canada, okay? A lot of the criminal underbelly that we would find in the West have basically migrated to either Canada or Mexico in hindsight altogether, right? So Canada and Mexico are still kind of like the riff-raff territories, right? Because the US is booting a lot of these people out from Canada and from Mexico that are doing a lot of these illegal things. But basically, in that sense, if we have not been able to do Plan A, because that's what I was hoping for, this is exactly why I would say I'm getting into a momentum of saying 90% of Polyev coming in, because if that happened, we'd still have a Canada today. And because that has not happened, Canada is finished. It's done. Which means what is going to happen in the future is we're going to see a lot of Western Canada starting to separate from Canada. Alberta is already doing it. They're already starting to initiate a referendum, and it looks like Alberta is going to move into being an independent province, and most likely is going to join up with the United States. They're not the only one. Saskatchewan is going to follow. Manitoba is going to follow. In time, British Columbia is going to follow. Some of the eastern provinces are also going to follow. Perhaps Quebec, perhaps New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, etc. Until really all that remains of Canada is Ontario. Okay? So this is what's going to be unfolding over the next couple of years. Now, I've talked about that when we went back into the later part of 2024 and early 2025. I think it was even before that as well, too. Saying that, yes, there's going to be a North American Union. And my feeling was, well, I'm thinking that, you know, Canada would still be Canada, the United States would still be the US, Mexico would still be Mexico. But I don't think so, okay? I think that Canada will cease to exist and it will become the United States, where we will basically have a North American Union. That is where the big picture is actually trying to take us, because this was an opportunity for us to actually have prosperity, and through that prosperity that Canada could be preserved, because Pierre Poilievre had a really good plan, right? But unfortunately, he's not able to get in. And it's not because it was a fair election. It wasn't. I said the only way that Pierre Poilievre isn't able to get in is if the election is rigged. And that's exactly what's happened. This is why I say 90%. I would say he's definitely in the go, because if you're looking at a fair election, there's no doubt Poilievre would get in. Right? He annihilated the other side. Right? But this isn't the way. Right? Because this is the nature of watching the criminals basically still trying to hold on to Canada, because they still need some type of presence in the West. Right? And unfortunately, that's what's happened. So the message for Canada is, we're finished. We're done. Now, I'm not trying to say that in a negative way, but what's happening is that provinces have had enough, which means the premiers of the provinces here in Canada are pretty much going to form a coalition. And not all premiers, because there's a couple of premiers that are still in the criminals' underbelly's back pocket. But most premiers basically want to do well for their people. And they're going to form a premier coalition. And this premier coalition is going to overthrow all of the federal jurisdiction in Canada, which means they're going to start going through referendums, they're going to start going through reforms, they're going to start detaching themselves from the Canadian Constitution and start creating themselves into a new constitution that may represent themselves in one of two ways. Number one, being an independent province, or number two, basically being able to do work with the United States. Okay? But as I was looking at this, because I was going into the Aashic Records, and I'll tell you exactly what I saw. Everything I share here, my friends, is my perspective, my point of view. For all knowledge, all information, all creation itself resides within your very hearts, beings, and souls. Disclaimer. Okay? As I was going into the records, I was seeing that the western side of the provinces were basically separating from Canada. It's kind of like looking at these pieces that are just disjointing themselves from the whole. And that's what's happening with Canada, is we're going to start seeing the western and central areas of Canada disjointing themselves from Canada and becoming their own provinces and becoming their own, basically, countries in that way. But I feel like there's going to be talks ensuing with the United States. So you would see places like Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, right, even some of the Northwest Territories, Yukon, etc., moving into the United States, actually being U.S. Okay? So what I'm seeing here over the next 2 or 3 years, I don't see 100% of Canada covered like that, but I see a good majority of Canada covered with the United States flag, probably over the next 2 to 3 years. That's just what I'm seeing right now. Okay? So, guys, I don't give a hot crap about Carney or a hot crap about anything relating to the leaders, because they're not leaders. There's no such thing as leaders anymore. There's stooges. There are stooges, and there are cronies, and there are phonies, and there are fakes. Those are your leaders of the world. They are serving corporate interests. There's no leaders. The true leaders work as public servants to the people. That's where you would find leaders. If you think Carney is a leader, he's not. There's a reason why he's a Carney. It's like looking at those old carnival owners back in the day that try to find ways to scam you. And that's basically what I would say. You basically call him Conman Carney. That's what he is. But here's the thing. Like I said, he's going to get roasted. He's going to be incinerated when he steps in there and he tries to start managing things. There's going to be people inside those chambers that are going to tear him to shreds. And he's not going to be able to take it, right? He's not kind of like Trudeau, who Trudeau has basically been bred into politics. Carney is not. He's a businessman, right? He's going to get eaten alive when he goes in there. So expect a lot of absences from him, right? As he just basically cowers away. He basically just freezes on stage. He doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know what to do. He has no experience in this. The Parliament is going to eat him alive. That's what's going to happen to Conman Carney. And he has basically caused the complete and total destruction and dismantling of Canada. and Canada is going to fall, and it's going to become the United States of America. That's what's happening here over the next 2 to 3 years, from what I was getting, right? It's not going to happen all at once. It's going to happen in bits and pieces. It's going to happen small, and then it's going to branch itself out. Canada and the United States will be one. This is the North American Union. Eventually, Mexico is going to join the fray as well, too. Mexico is going to become the United States of America. I can't say if that's going to happen during this time frame, but over the next few years, yes, right? So you're basically going to have Canada, the United States, and Mexico all as the United States of America, right? So that's what's happening. It's the North American Union, and this is kind of where I see. I don't look at the idea of the small pieces here. Oh, well, you know, there is this and there is that, and these other things from what I'm seeing within the system and blah, blah, blah. And that's the left brain approach of looking at all these things. And what I do is I try to hover all above it. I try to look up. I go up looking down, and I see all these things that are happening. Okay, then I can kind of see exactly where the momentum of things are going now. I can see that Canada and the US are going to become one country, and eventually Mexico as well too. And then in the very distant future, I think everything from North America to South America will be one country, right? Going all the way up to the Arctic, all the way down to Argentina, you are going to see one country altogether. That's quite a long ways away, but nonetheless, that's what I feel is going to be happening as well too. So America is just going to be America from North and South America, right? So that's really what's going to be happening. There's going to be people that are going to be carrying on Donald Trump's traditions once he's gone. I think he'll probably just be another 4 years. And then there's going to be somebody else that carries his vision forward, and they're going to do the same thing, right? But the whole idea is that a lot of these criminal cartels have realized that they can't take over the U.S. anymore. The U.S. is now has like a shield over it. And again, they've tried to basically scurry to Canada and scurry to Mexico and trying to regroup there and trying to take over those particular countries, because they've been taking over those countries for a very long time. But that's really what's happening. The message for Canada is that Canada is finished. It is done. Like, Brad, is there any chance to redeem it? No, not really. This was our chance, and that chance is gone. So what it's going to lead to now is the death of a country and the start of a brand new country, or perhaps countries, especially if we have the provinces going independent. Now, what I have also said in the past as well too is if you notice that a province or a state or a country is going sovereign, is going independent, that is the right way to go. That's actually showing that we're moving in the right direction. So not just the provinces or the states, but even if you look at other countries that are basically attempting to bring themselves into sovereign independence, they're moving in the right direction. That's what you want. This is the time for it. This is an era of revolution, my friends. And an era of revolution is going to be kicking away the old guard, kicking away the system, so that we can start off with sovereign independence. That is what you want. And when you see something like Alberta running the charge like that, that is telling me that you actually have a good leader there. You know, the only really good leader in Canada right now is Danielle Smith, right? She's pretty much the only one. Starting off, I think maybe the other premiers might start to click in their heads that they have to do the same thing at the same time. Okay, sorry about that. I just had a browser hiccup here for a minute. So again, that's where I call leader. If you have a leader who is truly a public servant, right, and making sure that they're aware of those two words, public servant. You do not have a crony. You do not have a Marxist. You do not have a globalist. You do not have some corporate shill running a country believing that he's a leader. He's not. He's a stooge. He's a crony. And he's not even really in charge. He's in charge by proxy. Who are the people behind him? And when you start to see the people behind him, you get the people who are really trying to run Canada into the ground. It's not Carney. Carney is just a fall guy, a stooge, a businessman, a crony. That's it, right? So just like Trudeau was basically being compromised and thrown out because he was being used up as his capability as a crony. So he's a former crony. And now you have another crony in his place. And that's what I said. It doesn't matter if you guys try to vote out this leader. They will throw another crony at you. Because that's what happened. Even if you get Mark Carney out of there, it doesn't matter. They'll throw another crony in. That's not the idea. You have to see who incompetent fool. If you do not know the people who are really in charge here, you're lost. Simple as that, right? So this is what I'm saying, is that I'm just going to be sharing a lot more of these higher views, right? You have to look at the people that are pulling the strings behind the scenes. They have to be taken out of the pictures. And I'm not even talking about the World Economic Forum. You guys think the WEF is doing this? No. They're a crony organization to something bigger. Brad, who really are the ones in charge behind them? I can give you two names. Rockefellers, Rothschilds. Okay, that's two ideas right there. Two of the ideas right there. Okay, that's what needs to be looked at. That's what needs to be scrutinized. Bankers. You're looking at the big hub bankers. You're looking at the bloodline families. You're looking at the oligarchs. Those are the ones that need to be taken down. You take those guys down, everything else falls like a maze of dominoes. Okay. The good news is a lot of that is happening. A lot of that is transpiring. But the whole idea is that there is a plan within a plan within a plan within a plan, which means these particular big shots will throw their underlings in the way. They will throw them under the bus to try to preserve themselves, right? That's why they've been able to live as long as they've been able to. They have underlings, they have minions, they have subservients, right? They basically have their quote-unquote slaves, and they will throw them under the bus to save themselves, right? And it's like I said, it all comes back to the one man, but I'm not going to go into that right now. It's really looking into these oligarchs, right? These oligarchs are basically the ones that are behind everything. And there's people out there, like I said, these are the real whistleblowers who actually go out and they start doing research pertaining to this, about the bloodline families, okay? Those are the puppeteers. What you have here are just proxies and carnies and cronies. A bunch of counterfeits who are not leaders. They are serving corporate interests. They are serving the interests of bankers. And if you think that just you trying to go out and vote is going to get rid of them, you are in la-la land. That's why I don't vote. I haven't voted since like 2004, I think it was. That was far before my awakening, right? Because it's a waste of time, my friends. And I know a lot of people try to support, oh my God, you're making a difference. You're not making a difference, right? The difference you make is through the power of your thinking. The difference you make is based on your actions. The difference you make is being able to see the bigger picture. The difference you make are those people who are coming together who want to actually support and bring about compassion and share the greater ideas for people, to educate people. That's the difference that you're making. The ability to just make a thought vote. No, I don't want this timeline. I want this one instead. But unfortunately, we have so many people in Canada, and I'm not even counting the other countries, because of course they're there too. But we have so many people in Canada in fear. And so much fear. You know, the majority of those people are seniors, right? The seniors are in fear. They've been programmed. And they are the ones you want to manipulate the most, because they're the ones that vote in record numbers. You are able to imitate or to intimidate the seniors and keep them in fear. You basically got an election in the bag, because you got these particular seniors that are sweating bullets, completely in fear, and just want to get out of that fear. I'll throw my money at you. Just get me out of the fear here, right? And that's what happens. It's all manipulation. Yes, it's rigged. Yes, it's all manipulation. Yes, it's all fear tactics. It's despicable. It is dark psychology. And that is what a lot of these elitists will use. They will use dark psychology on people. And basically, open contact he's a fart. I love it. I'll get to your questions here in a few minutes, guys. Okay. But basically, that's what's happening. They use this particular type of dark psychology, and they've been using it since the dawn of man, so to speak. They use dark psychology on the people to put you in dread, to put you in dread, to put you in fear, to make sure that if you do vote, it needs to come out of a panic vote, right? You need to panic vote, you need to panic buy, you need to panic this, and you need to panic that. And that's systematic. That's the system process, right? Brad, is there ever a chance that we can get out of such a system? Yes. And it's very much like what I've been teaching on this channel for the past 17 years, is being able to go in here, is being able to listen to yourself. I'm not saying you need to sit on your couch and meditate for 8 hours a day chanting Om. That's not what I'm telling you to do. I'm telling you, you need to face your traumas. You need to clear them, right? And we do it in very, very simple ways, like the trauma transcendence technique, like the white light breath, like the release ball method, like BCR technique, all these things that are on my channel for you guys for free, right? That's why I put them there, because it's so important to have this. Every human being needs to have this particular type of knowledge to start furthering themselves, to start evolving themselves. What matters, my friends, what changes timelines is your thoughts, not your physical votes. Going down and putting a little piece of paper or touching a kiosk button with rigged machines and thinking that that institutes change. You're wasting your time. And you've been suckered into thinking that you are actually in a democracy. You're full of it. Because it's not. If there's people that are voting, it's voting in regards to what people that represent the proxies to the higher ups say, oh, good, they're supporting our crooked scam. Fantastic, let's keep their votes in there. But otherwise, we'll try to make it a close race, but at the end, the liberals get it. Okay? That's not how you're going to get out of this mess. As long as you play and dilly-dally with the systems that they tell you to do, like good little sheep, you're stuck in it. And the key here is thought action. It's like I was talking about in the Akashic Intelligence Report, my last one I did, where we're looking at the canceling of timelines. How is a timeline canceled? Thought votes. Thought action. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick with this. And you stick with it. Congratulations, you just completely cleared out a timeline that was quite catastrophic to your own personal life. And that's exactly what you're doing collectively. You are voting through your thought. It is a wonderful thing when you see these horrible things exposed to the public, because you're shifting timelines. I don't want to look at that. I'm going to look at this. I want this instead. Right? And it's like that timeline branch just breaks down and a new one comes together and surges because people have thought voted. And that is all you have to do. Doesn't even involve, can you imagine if the majority of the people in Canada or the majority of people in any country simply refuse to even participate in voting because they see what a waste of time it is and that they don't live in a democracy, and instead they're going to take time to take their own power back? The idea of any form of totalitarianism or dystopia or anything of that nature would be eradicated overnight. That's how powerful we are. But unfortunately, the hardest thing is trying to convince people of that. And this is why we get stuck, because this is a collective, right? And the collective will have people that are so completely immersed in fear. It's like I said, the Titanic is sinking in the ship, and they're just slapping your hands away because you want to help them, and they're sinking down with the ship because they're in fear. They're in complete and total fear, and they think these so-called leaders are going to bail them out. And they just sink with the ship, they drown. And that's what's happening. Canada is drowning, right? And we had an opportunity to try to preserve it and try to get it up and try to help it out and try to make it something brand new. We failed, right? Because we were suckered. We were suckered once again by the system. Can you guys tell me, in Canadian history, has there ever been any particular type of election that has led to something better? Peace, prosperity, good health, good economy, good housing, everything that satisfies and serves the vast majority. Has it ever happened? Not once. Then why are you wasting your time with this bullshit? Not once has that ever happened. Not once has there been such a prosperity of Canada where no one went hungry, where there was no wars, where there was no taxes, where there was no form of prosperity, where there was no form of housing for everybody. That's never happened. It's all within the rules of a system. The same can be said with the US, the same can be said with Mexico, with the UK, with Germany, with Russia, with Australia, with New Zealand, you name them. The majority of the countries today have been nothing but a country of great suffering because we have allowed a system to come in and basically dictate rules and regulations and policies and drawing all these lines in the sand, and don't you dare cross these lines in the sand. But that's all they are lines in the sand. And in order for all of this to change, everything pertaining to the system needs to be overthrown. It needs to die. And that's where there's revolution. And that's what's coming. But like I said, some countries may pick this up quickly. Some countries may pick this up a little bit more slowly, because it depends upon the fear rate of the country, right? So that is the message I have for Canada. Prepare for separation. Prepare for provinces to break apart from the country. Prepare for a country that was once a beautiful country that is now dead. And now it's Plan B. And Plan B is the North American Union. And that's where we're going. That's what I've seen as I looked into the Akasha. I was getting a lot of confirmation with this even before that time. Even Brianne and I, when we're talking to each other, and she's like, I just don't know. I'm kind of feeling that Pierre should get it. But at the same time, it kind of feels like he's not going to get it, right? And like I said, I said, well, the only reason that would happen is if it's rigged. Yeah. If it's a clean election, which is hardly possible in many days, right? And in these days, then yes, he definitely would. But no, this is going to be rigged. And if it's rigged, he doesn't have a chance. And there you go. The reason he didn't get in is because it was rigged. The reason he didn't get in is because he is defiant to the corporate interest, right? So there you go. Trump could do it because he has all the support. Pierre doesn't even have a quarter of that type of support, right? He may start to maybe over the next few years, but certainly not right now. So that's exactly why this has happened. So Canada, get ready for a big change. North American Union is coming. You are going to see Alberta separate first, maybe Quebec next, or Manitoba, Saskatchewan, British Columbia, etc. There's going to be a lot of separations. And like I said, there's going to be a premier coalition. That's coming too. There you go. All right, let's go ahead now and move on and go into some questions. I know this is a pretty big message, but a long message, but needed to be said. All right, I'm going to go through the chat here and just see if there are some donation-based questions. I think we just have one today, because this isn't the usual day I do these. I usually do these on Wednesdays, so I apologize, guys, for not getting this on Wednesday for you, but like I said, it's a special edition today. So this one here is from EUM142. They say, hi Adronis, if our leaders still get selected, not elected, to this day, when will our vote matter? So I don't think you really need Adronis for this, with all respect, okay? When your vote matters involves public servants, not these so-called leaders. Okay, guys, you are not voting for leaders. Maybe Pierre may have been one of them, right? But of course, he basically got ejected from his own seat. There's a liberal that basically took over his own seat as well too. And Pierre is one of those few public servant leaders around. He's a very rare breed, him and Danielle Smith, right? So when will your vote matter? When you start voting for public servants and not cronies that work for corporations. And this involves some common sense. Have you done background checks on the people that are on the voting logs, right? That are on the ballot? Have you looked into them? Are they public servants or are they a bunch of corporate cronies? Corporate crony, 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 corporate crony. Basically, right? So other than Pierre and other than Danielle Smith, those are pretty much the only two public servants in Canada, right? So what do we as a people need to do? You need to start getting smart. You need to start listening. You need to start looking into these things. You need to start following people who are doing this through grassroots, who are also being public servants and are able to expose these things and take them to heart and spread the word and make it viral, right? So like I said, that's it. And unfortunately, a lot of the Canadians, particularly the seniors, the hardest part is that they don't want to listen, right? And unfortunately, it's the seniors, as we've seen, the seniors are the ones that vote in record numbers. All over the world, really. They're the ones that basically control the entire political game as sheep, right? And so that's the hard thing, is that we basically have to go through the hard times because people are so completely unconditionally caught up in fear. And they will basically buy into everything that you're selling as long as you're threatening, but at the same time you give them false hope. It's all dark psychology. This is all dark psychology. So trying to feel like your vote matters, it doesn't. Because as long as the system controls your voting process, you have to have a bunch of machines. You can't even write them down on paper ballots anymore. There's nothing about it that's just and fair. Any part of that can be manipulated. You know, there's people that were actually catching others who are taking boxes, ballot boxes, home with them. Actually stealing ballot boxes and taking them to their homes and putting it there over the weekend. Where is that just? People are caught on tape doing that, caught on video doing that stuff. Where is that just? Guys, that's the system, right? Trying to have these machines that are giving you like 91 different selections of candidates where people couldn't even really find Pierre Poilievre in it because he's buried in this list of candidates that have never even bothered to do any particular form of campaigning. That's the system. Okay? This is dark psychology. This is what they do. And because there's not enough supportive people that could surround Pierre Poilievre, Pierre could have been a great leader. Hardly anyone supported him. And I meant the support as in being able to say, I got your back. Very few people actually did that. That's how effed up Canada is. And that's why it's going to die. Because we are not on the same page. We are separated, we are divided, we're not like the States. The US has basically created such an awakening that a lot of people are at a point where they're together and they can offer support to Trump. We don't have that because we're so divided, right? So like I said, this isn't the answer. There needs to be a wake-up call, and unfortunately the next couple of years is the wake-up call. The dividing of provinces, the separation of the provinces that were once the glue that held this country together is now going to segregate and separate and cause everything to just break apart. Because that's what's happening. That's what we need to do. It's like, okay, it's kind of like the universe is taking up a tally. So, okay, this is exactly how Canadians are reacting here. Okay, well, your times of Canada is gone now. Say goodbye to your provinces. And they're gone within a couple of years. And they join the United States. And you basically have the 51st state idea coming together. Because that's what's going to happen. Greenland is eventually going to become part of a North American Union. That's going to happen, right? Mexico, United States, Canada, Greenland. That's what you could almost see in the next few years coming together as a North American Union from how things are looking right now. From what I can see in the right brain of things, that's where things are going. So when does your vote matter? When you actually vote for public servants, not corporate cronies. So you gotta do your research. And Adronis would basically tell you the same thing. So you need to look at public servants, people who serve the people. None of these people on the ballot, hardly any other than Pierre, serve the people. Right? They're corporate shills, corporate cronies. Don't waste your time with that garbage. Educate yourself. Look deeper, right? And like I said, it's a matter of getting into groups and talking to people as this big collective, because now there's a lot of people who are whistleblowers and coming together, and they're creating such a movement online that it shatters everything. Look what we did with the Freedom Convoy. That was probably one of the most brilliant things Canadian people have ever done, is when they put together the Canadian Freedom Convoy during COVID. That was brilliant. That's what you got to do. You got to do something like that. You got to come together in groups, and you got to put this together. And you got to work together and stand alongside each other. You're holding the line. That's what makes a difference. Okay, so E1142, I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and move on to other questions here. We do have Samar here asking, can you look into India-Pakistan possible war? I'm going to do a tarot on it instead, okay? Because I think we can get a little bit more insight on this, just to see what the momentum is about the India and Pakistan possible war. Okay. Okay. So what I can tell here from the India-Pakistan war, I'm also going to go into the Akasha with this as well too, so give me one moment. Okay. This feels like a proxy war. This feels like something that is engineered, something that's planned, okay? Because I don't feel like this is something that's a genuine beef. I feel like it's the idea of one particular power trying to trump over another, okay? So there's going to be a lot of defenses. Like I said, India is always going to prevail from this, from what I can see here, okay? But I feel like maybe a lot of this stuff maybe stopped in the track, maybe stopped in the dirt very quickly as well too. It's kind of like how we've seen with Russia and Ukraine, or how we've seen with Israel and Iran, and now we're trying to see Pakistan and India fight, okay? And from what I'm getting here pertaining to the outcome is this, and I think India will still stand tall and strong about this. Pakistan primarily is a mercenary group. They're pretty much, the entire nature of Pakistan being Pakistan is built on mercenary dictatorship. Okay, those are basically the dark forces, you could call that, right? And this isn't any offense to the civilians, but in regards to the military might and the political power behind Pakistan, it's rogue groups, it's mercenaries, right? It's the dark cabal trying to fight the light, you could say. Okay. Now, again, as I say, I feel that India will come out of this, but there's going to be some skirmishes for sure. There's going to be a lot of tension in the air pertaining to Pakistan and India, but India will prevail. But this is all part of these rogue groups fighting for territory, trying to fight for dominance, and Pakistan is one of those particular places, right? This is not a genuine beef at all. This is the idea of a fight for supremacy, okay? This is a fight for territory. This is a fight for trying to keep resources together for a bunch of criminal cartels, because Pakistan is primarily filled with a bunch of criminal cartels, right? And it's merc groups fighting. And it's proxy wars. It's not genuine, right? It's not something that's legit. It is all based upon criminals trying to save their asses, right? And basically trying to wage war and trying to attain more territory and trying to claim more resources and try to bring in more greed. All wars funnel through greed. They don't just fight for the hell of it. They fight because there's greed involved. They fight because there's acquisition involved. And that's what Pakistan is trying to do, right? Pakistan, from its original inception, was basically created by criminals, not by good-hearted people, okay? The idea that they wanted to separate from India, even Gandhi was telling them, knock this off. This is stupidness. What are you doing? Stop all of this. This is not going to help anything. It's basically created by renegades and rebels and criminal filth. That's Pakistan, right? So that's exactly what they're doing. Just another Khazaria. So again, like Khazaria, their forces are going to be taken down. Okay? India's army is far more greater. So there you have it. That's what I'm getting for India, Pakistan with their situation. Okay. Okay, this one here is from Didar Singh. Didar Singh says, hey Brad, are we going to get some relief from markets anytime soon? Relief from markets. See, that's what Trump is trying to do. Firstly, you have to sink the vessel, and then you bring it back up again, right? What he's doing is actually quite an ingenious plan. He's deliberately tanking the markets so that he can bring them back up again, right? So it's kind of like a strategy that will work. And this is why I say 2026 to 2028, things are going to start looking a lot better, right? Not just for crypto, but for markets altogether. You got to sink the market first, and then you bring it back up. This is why I say it's a year of flux. It's going to go down, then it'll be up period, then down, then up period, and up, down, and down, right? So when are the markets going to go? When are they going to get better, get relief? Let's take a look through the cards. So I feel like a lot of people are going to be abandoning ship with certain stocks as well too, because we're going to see low periods here with the market. I think there's people that are going to basically be abandoning ship in certain ways, but as we get into the future pertaining to the outcomes here, I can feel like it's going to become sturdier, right? So looking into the stock markets right now, yeah, it's meant to shake up like that. It's meant to collapse. I wouldn't say really collapse. It's not like a stock market crash, but it's meant to kind of look like that. You sink the markets to a certain point, and then you start to build them back up again. I think there's a plan. I think there's plans that are going to play themselves out, that are going to resurrect the market to actually make it much more sustainable again. And I feel that's coming in 2026. Okay, so as I've said, the first 10 months of 2025, particularly for finances, for trade, for stock markets, for crypto, are going to be very, very intense. You're going to have a lot of, it's kind of like these financial earthquakes that are taking place for the first 10 months of the 2025 year. And as you start going right to the tail end of 2025, you're going to notice a pickup time. And then that's going to trail forward into 2026. There will still be some fluctuations in 2026, of course, but it's going to be starting to look a little more promising and a little bit more relieving, as you're asking here in this way. So from the feeling I'm getting here is that, yeah, things need to fall. Things need to be kind of confusing right now. People need to kind of bail out, because there's going to be some people bailing out of their stocks, selling their stocks quite a bit. Okay, there's going to be a lot of uprising, I feel, with stock, just people dropping their stocks. Okay, sell, sell, sell. And then this is going to lead to the opportunity of something brand new coming together, right? It's almost like they're cleaning out the stock market from the criminal underbelly at the same time. So that's what I'm getting for that. Okay. Thank you very much for your question. Let's go ahead and move on. Okay. All right. Julie, is it Julie? Yeah, Julie asks, how do we get rid of implants? Okay. Now, for those of you who are confused, I said, what does that mean? Well, implants primarily are astral patterns connected to you, right? Whenever you have an entity attachment, it's kind of like looking at an astral anchor placed directly into an area of the body, because basically they have to align themselves into certain power centers of the body. They may align themselves in the glands, they may align themselves into chakras, they may align themselves into organs, they may align themselves into basically just wiring you up with certain types of astral-based AI. Okay, I have taught people how to get out of their implants. If they don't know what they're doing, this is what you do. Okay, does everybody know what this is? I've talked about this quite a bit. This is your symbol for the intervention fleets. Take your left hand, create it like this, like an L. Take your right hand, like it's a line, and then just put it over like this. Meditate on this. If I feel that I have astral implants contained within my body, and I don't know how to get rid of them, intervention fleets. Okay? because I've had a lot of you coming to me and say, Brad, it's worked. I woke up the next morning and all of that feeling of pain, that hurt I've had, everything that I've been going through, pertaining to a lot of strain and suffering, it's all gone. Right? I've had a lot of you email me about that. Great, because it works, because the intervention fleets are here, but like I said, we utilize them as a last resort. They're here to help humanity. They want to help you out, but they basically run a scan on you and saying, oh, well, this is something that you're probably going to be able to work out here very quickly. You don't need our help. You're going to be able to find the answer, and they may not intervene, right? So it's when I say working with the intervention fleets, you are not doing this to entertain yourself. You are not using it as a first resort. Okay, so if we're looking at a practice to help clear out implants, this is where I would suggest that you go onto my YouTube channel, you go in the playlists, and you look up the cord removal healing technique. Okay, so if you feel that you or someone else has implants and they are willing to work on this, you go into my playlists on this YouTube channel, on Wisdom Transmissions here, and you look up cord removal healing. It's a 10-day course that's free, and then you learn to cut cords. And then you learn to cut these cords that are linked directly to your implant, which means you're just holding a cord like here, an invisible cord right here, and you're just thinking about what this cord represents. I have headaches. I have a lot of fear. I have migraines. Right? I have all these problems that represent these feelings. Okay? So all we're going to do now is I just want you to loosen it. Right? We're just going to start Om chanting. Om, either out loud or in your mind. It's fine. Om. And you start making it looser and looser and looser until it feels as loose as a wet, limp noodle. Okay? Once you're done that, you take the other hand and you cut the cord. Hand it over to your right, just like you're putting it directly into spirit light. Take your hand, grabbing a hold of a cord, just like coming out of the ether, and plug it into yourself. And now see yourself completely and totally free of that incident and everything that represents it. You just feel yourself getting stronger as you Om. There's love, there's harmony, there's balance, there's tranquility. Here's my center. Make it stronger, 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 like a steel cable. And you're done. Congratulations, you just took out an astral implant, or perhaps even a few of them. You link your problems collectively to a cord. Thinking of that cord kind of like a fishing line, right? It's like an invisible fishing line that you're just grabbing. I don't care if you grab here, 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 here. Just grab the cord. It's not a real physical cord, my friends. You are grabbing an astral cord. But believe me, when you think about it, that astral cord appears. Right? When that astral cord appears, you are weakening it, okay, with the Om chant. Om chant aloud, Om chant mentally. And you're weakening it, and you're actually feeling it getting weaker. You can actually start to move it like it's a piece of silly string. Okay? And then you use the other hand and you cut it. And then you hand it over to spirit light. Just like there's a white light portal over here, just hand it over there, right? And you reach forward, you're grabbing another cord, and you connect it, okay? So I don't want you to think, oh, but Brad, there's no cord here. Guys, it's a friggin' astral cord. Of course, it's not physically here, but it's an astral cord. And you're plugging it into yourself. And then you're intending it with that security, that feeling of harmony, that feeling of love, that feeling of compassion, that tranquility, you in the center. And you're making it as strong as a steel cable. And you're done. That's all it takes. But what keeps you from doing that is your own damn fear. That's what segregates, that's what barriers, that's what prevents every single one of you from going into harmony. Is that damn fear that you keep fueling, that you make stronger every single day. You got to drop it. You got to surrender, not forgive. Surrender yourself to it. And now you start Om chanting, and now you make that looser, and now you cut it. And then you put the new one in, you make that as strong as a steel cable, and if that's still not enough, intervention fleets. Okay, so what do we do, everybody? Repeat after me. We go to Brad's playlist, number 1. We go to the cord removal healing playlist, which is a 10-day free course. Number 2, we perform everything within the cord removal healing to help us with that. It can help with physical problems, emotional problems, mental problems, implants, everything. If that's still not enough, what's plan B? Intervention fleets. Okay? If you have done plan A, and if you have done plan B, and you're still having problems, you come see me. Okay? I'm plan C. Okay, so that's booking a session with me, what have you, then so be it. But please do plan A, then work with plan B, and then I'm plan C if you need it. All right, so I hope that helps. Julie, that's how we get rid of implants. Okay, thank you so much. They're not some big, unstoppable, horrible thing. They're only horrible and feel unstoppable because of your fear. Your fear is what makes this like a titanium cage that you can't get out. You learn to settle your fear, you become a god. Please remember that. Because now everything is possible through you, right? All right, let's move on. How are we on time here? We've got a few minutes left here. Okay. So I'm just looking for some questions here. Just give me a minute. Well, Linda says here, I'm not sure how Alberta is going to house the rest of Canadians who want to be coming. There does not appear to be room for Alberta Canadians. It's not just Alberta that's going to do it, though. Okay, Alberta is the first example. Okay, like I said, I think Saskatchewan will probably be another example. Manitoba will be another example. Eventually, Quebec will be another example. Eventually, they're not going to be the first ones, but later on, they're going to want to do it. Okay, BC is going to be another one. The entire western area and central area of Canada are basically going to be the ones that are going to want to withdraw. Okay. Now, northern BC is going to want to withdraw much more than southern BC, and that's going to be something that BC has to take care of. Right. A lot of the people in northern BC were very much into conservative, right, and they absolutely hate the Liberals, and so it's kind of a divided section between that. But of course, the major population in BC is in southern BC. Right? So this is why I say it's going to be a bit of a struggle for that, but it is eventually going to happen, right? But yes, you would look at Alberta as the front runner for right now, and a lot of people are moving to Alberta. Yeah, that's true. And it is what it is, right? Don't try to control the situation, just observe and see exactly what happens, and then see exactly what's happening with the neighboring provinces, because they may start getting ideas as well too, and more people will probably start moving theirs at the same time. Don't try to control, just observe, see what's happening. If we start thinking that there's some sort of pin that we're putting in here because we think there's a problem, you're tuning in too much to the left brain and you're not letting the right brain do its job, right? Look into the bigger picture of things. See how this will happen. Oh, okay, I see it now. I see exactly what's happening. There's going to be teamwork. There's going to be a coalition. Exactly. And with that coalition, no one's left behind. So that's really what it is. You're looking at a premier-based coalition that will be happening here in time. Okay. All right. Let's go down a little bit more. Okay. Just give me a minute here, guys. I'm just looking at, there's just a lot of comments in the chat, so. Okay, here's one from Linda again. What about EBS, Brad? At one point you said you were not seeing it then. I think you did say later that you are now seeing it happening. I may not have heard correctly and confused. No, it's true. I don't know when that EBS is happening, but it feels like there's a momentum. I can't say it's 100%. It's just like it's picked up traction, right? So from the past, let's put it like this, like a scale, where if I saw it in the past, this would be like a 10% chance, okay? As I'm seeing it happen more likely, it's kind of moving up to about 55 to 60%, okay? So it's starting to become a little bit more likely that there may be an EBS. Now the EBS itself may not even come through conventional means to what we think. We call it an emergency broadcast system announcement or something pertaining to an emergency. But I also said that I think this was happening in the United States. I don't think it was happening in Canada. And I think it may have happened in a certain territory, like a certain state in the US. And that's basically what I was getting. I wasn't seeing this as a North American-wide EBS. I felt it was something a little bit more localized. Maybe it's already happened, right? But no, I was just seeing that the situation of a EBS alert was starting to come together, but I felt it may have been contained somewhere. And I think it may have already passed, right? Maybe it has something to do with those drones that were coming together at that time, right? But that's what I was getting. In regards to a nationwide alert, like Canada, US, North America, I'm not seeing that right now. But I was seeing EBS alerts for certain areas, most likely in the United States. And it was going up to about a 55 to 60% chance. That's what I was talking about, okay? But as far as something that's a nationwide or a worldwide EBS, as wonderful as that would be, no. These are mostly just for certain contained areas, which I was talking about. 55 to 60% increase approximately. Okay, let's move on. I'm just making sure I'm not missing any questions. There are just a lot of comments in the chat here. Marnie says, why are Canadians getting it so much worse than, say, the Americans? Because actually Americans, through Trump, have become a lot more united. Okay, Americans are far more united than Canadians. We are divided. We're a divided people. And that leadership via a public servant hasn't been very strong. Pierre Poilievre represented that example, but there was just too much compromise and too much corruption on the other side that got to people. And like I said, if Trump was basically being ridiculed, for example, of being how he is in that sense, he had so many people jumping to his aid. Pierre didn't have that, right? Because the conservatives in that way, they work a little bit more differently. They're not, you know, so outspoken and liberalized in that way. They're a lot more conserved, right? It's a different vibration. It's a different energy, okay? So as good as Pierre was, he really didn't have the brass, so to speak, to trump a lot of things that were coming at him. He was a true conservative, right? He is a true conservative. He's not just basically hammering it, right? When Trump would get hit, he would hammer back. He would hammer back, and he'd have his people hammering him back. That's the idea of his aura. His aura is strong, right? And he'd hammer back, and he'd answer those things, and he'd knock them out of the park. Pierre didn't do that, right? He's too conservative. That's the problem. And so the whole idea is that even though he's conservative, he didn't bring about his liberal tendencies to kind of, you know, fight off those things. And he had so many opportunities to basically destroy Carney, where he never could have gotten up again. There were some tower moments for Carney, but it wasn't really Pierre calling them out. It was mostly reporters and other people, you know, about a lot of his dealings. So the whole idea is that he was too conservative, and that too conservative nature was not strong enough to basically defend him against all of these onslaughts of him becoming, so he's just another Trump, and he's all this and he's all that, and he's just working for Trump, because that's the whole idea. The liberals' success to enable a rigged campaign is that they used Trump as their weapon. And they just called Pierre just another Trump. And people were starting to hate Trump, and so they could hate Pierre, and blah, blah, blah. And now they could rig the election with that particular type of dark psychology, right? So he was too conservative to really kind of fire back. He had the opportunity to put all of that stuff to rest, but he didn't, right? He wasn't strong enough. And that's the problem, right? The public servant was not strong enough. And that's why he didn't bother to retort as he could have, and really could have pushed it to them out. He's a very good person. I can see it in his heart. He's a very loving, sincere people. He genuinely cares about people. That's wonderful. But he doesn't have the support that Trump has. He doesn't have that aura or that presence that Trump has. Trump has that. And people will take bullets for him, right? Pierre, not so much. People wouldn't really take bullets for him, okay? And that's the difference. Trump is like this ironclad of a leader. Pierre, smaller, right? Very good person, very lovely person, very wonderful person. I can look into his eyes when he's talking. He genuinely cares about people. He is very legit in regards to what he was promising, but he didn't have that strength. He didn't have that He didn't have that iron within himself that needed to be there. And that's why he failed, right? And that's why, again, rigged elections were able to happen. He's just too conservative about it. That's the problem. So there you go. That's my own perspective on that. I'm not a political analyst by the way. I'm talking about people, not politics. So there you go. Okay. Okay. So, I mean, guys, there's some of these questions here, with all due respect. All I'm really saying is, when can we vote? When can terrorism go away? When can this happen? When can that happen? Guys, that is not going to help you. You're looking for a bailout rather than doing the work. We got to do the work, because if I bring Adronis in, I just know what he's going to do. So I'm not going to bring him in, because he's going to tell you everything he's told you so many times before. Rather than trying to think that outcomes need to happen before the actions themselves that propel them to happen the way they need to, you need to think of it in that way, right? Oh, when is terrorism going to end? When is all this war going to end? You guys are part of the issue. This is a human world problem, and it involves all of us, and you have to do your work. Specifically, your inner work first. Stop trying to help the world when you're not even willing to help yourself. And Adronis would tell this right to your face. You need to stop dilly-dallying, thinking that you need to fix the world when you haven't even been able to work on yourself. You are ill-equipped to do it. In order for that to happen, take care of the traumas that reside within you. Extinguish your fear. Clear that out. Now you become refined. And now you become a shining example of someone who can really help people transform, because you've been willing to do it yourself. That's what I've done for 17 years, my friend, is not trying to run around and think I need to help the world and change the world and blah, blah, blah. I had to take care of my own crap. I had quite a lot of it, right? And I've cleared all that out. I'm not that same person anymore, right? There's something so liberating when you go and you clear out your traumas, you clear out those desires. You still have some desires in the world, but it's not, I wouldn't even really call them desires. They're more like stepping stones. They're more like milestones that you have right now. You still want to sing, and you still want to dance, and you still want to teach, and you still want to write, and you still want to create these things, but there's nothing that represents a means to an end. It's not tainted with illusionary desires anymore, right? You're moving much more towards something that is enriching, inspiring to yourself, right? So rather than being desired, be inspired, right? And that's really what we look at. People think that as soon as they go for TTT, that they're just going to be zombified and then they won't have anything within them. They'll have no drive. I said, guys, if that was the case, do you honestly think I'd be on here doing these videos with all of you? Because this is a drive for me, is to work with you guys. It's a drive for me to work with you guys in sessions. It's a drive for me to create something like Predict My Astrology or Etherics in that sense, to help and bring this forward, to give something here. I've done a lot. I'm the inventor of trauma transcendence technique, and I have these drives. But they're not desires anymore. They're inspired. They're inspirations, right? So that's the difference. And like I said, you have to work on yourself. That's not optional. Okay, if you want to really, really help out the planet, you got to help yourself out first. You got to deal with all your stuff. You got to heal it. Because if you don't, you just keep coming back again and again and again until you do. Okay, that's not something I've made up. That's how the universal law works. What resists, persists. And if you keep preventing yourself from developing yourself and healing yourself and moving forward in a prosperous way, you will come back again and again and again and again until you get it right. Because this is the scene of the crime. You can't go away from the scene of the crime. You're going to yo-yo yourself right back again. And it's going to happen, right? Take care of your stuff now while you're alive. Not thinking that when I croak and drop dead, then I'll deal with all this crap. Because you know what will happen? Get back down there in a new body, and you start cleaning everything up again. Clean it up this time. Because if you leave it completely unattended, it's going to grow. It's going to fester. It's like mold in the corner. Oh, I'll just leave it alone. It's not going to do anything. Come back a few days, that mold is expanding. Okay? That's your karma. That's the karma that represents everything pertaining to suffering, everything pertaining to trauma. It is your capital fear. And that's what's festering in the corner. Right? So we need to be aware of that. So it's very, very important. That's why I'm here telling you guys the constant message over and over and over again. Do you think I'd be saying it over and over again if it wasn't important? It's so important that we do that. And you have free tools through my channel. You got other people having some very good similar techniques as well too. You have Dr. David Hawkins' letting go technique. That's excellent. You have Lester Levinson's release technique. That's excellent. These are great techniques as well too. It's not just my stuff, right? My stuff is free, but there's other things as well too. Whatever you're doing, just work on yourselves. That is the most important thing that you all need to do right now. Work on yourselves, right? So we're almost out of time here, so I'm going to take one or two more questions as we go down. Okay, here's one from NP. Hello, Adronis. Was the 28th of April blackouts in Spain and Portugal a black hat operation? Thanks, Brad and Adronis. Okay, so NP, I will bring Adronis in for this question. Okay, 1 moment. Terra Soul Star Sirius Adronis. We are here. At this time, we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this broadcast through your internet collective consciousness. We thank you, NP, for your question in regards to what is happening within your Spain and your Portugal pertaining to these blackout situations that are taking place. You are basically looking in the idea of, yes, a particular type of takedown. It is a takedown that is happening because there was, as you would say, an imminence to a great, shall we say, psychological disaster or psychological propaganda or psychological operation that was going to take place between these two countries of Spain and Portugal. The idea of the blackout is taking place to prevent a type of detonation. So the idea of powering down the grid is attempting to disarm a very severe attack that was looking to happen between Spain and Portugal. That is exactly why there is a blackout right now, so that there is no power supply relating to the nature of an incoming detonation, of an incoming fight, of an incoming battle that would basically put Spain and Portugal in significant disarray. So there is a powering down until this problem is rectified. We do not feel it will be too much longer, but this is all part of preventing a type of war between those particular countries of Spain and Portugal. And that is exactly why the grid is offline at this time, to diffuse a psychological operation created by what you would know as your dark cabals. All right? We thank you for your question. All right. So there you have it. That's what's happening. And that's as soon as I was hearing about that, is okay, they're probably going to try and wage war. They're probably trying to do some sort of big fight. And it's something in regards to a detonation. So it's a good thing that that's happening, right? We'd rather have some time without power rather than thousands or many thousands of people's lives lost, right? So that's what's happening right now in regards to what can be shared. Thank you, NP. Okay, one last question, guys, and we're going to wrap up. Okay, let me just see here. And one good question here. Has Adronis gone on vacation? Really, guys, if you tuned into the type of realm that Adronis is in, because I have, he wouldn't need a vacation. He's in the center of bliss all the time, right? We were all there, guys. That is your vacation. But that's not even a vacation. That's your nature. That's your spot. That's your center, right? And I was able to go into his realm and look at it. I don't have words for it. It's pure bliss. It's pure harmony. It's pure love, right? It's something I can't even describe. But that's how Adronis exists, right? So our vacations couldn't even be anything compared to that, because our vacations aren't even really good. Vacations aren't even really good, my friends, because you're on vacation for a few days, and then what are you looking forward to? You're looking forward to going back home and facing the grind again? Vacations are pretty much useless, right? So the key here is go within, clean yourself out, make the entire world your natural vacation, right? That's the key. Okay. Open Contact has it right here. If everyone did that inner work, we'd live in that harmonious earth by now. But we look outside of ourselves, which isn't correct. Open Contact, you got it. You're 100% correct on that. That's it, right? People are caught up in their fear. They take for granted everything that people say about them. They are looking throughout their world trying to be defined by people. They're trying to be defined by people, by places, by events, and so forth. And it just gathers up so much fear, and it's like this gigantic bloated balloon, right? And they're afraid to pop it, because actually inside the balloon there's nothing but air. But they think if they pop it, that fear is going to gobble them up, right? But this is where Adronis, like again, going back quite a while ago, I think it was a few months to about a year ago or so, where Adronis was talking about the system, right? And that's how it works, is that people have been bred, you have been psychologically damaged to think that going inside yourself and healing yourself is detrimental. What the hell do you think is happening to you when you're putting your outside affairs together here, when you're looking at everything outside here, and constantly having to be judged based upon what other people think of you, and having to be judged based on the type of work that you do, and having to be judged because of this and judged because of that, but you're terrified to go within to where the peace is? That is dark psychological operation created by a system. A system is telling you, don't go within. Rather, try and get fame, try to get popular, try to get noticed, try to make millions of dollars, get a big house, get family and breed, and then just work yourself stupid so that you don't have a single moment to yourself, and then at some particular point drop dead. That's the psychological operation. That's the system talking. And it is a never-ending program of everything about how to slowly kill yourself. That's what we're doing. You're not doing the inner work, then you're slowly killing yourself. Again and again, lifetime after lifetime. Over and over. Until at some particular point, you break and said, that's enough, I'm done. I'm going inside now, I'm working on this. And I have students who are amazing students who get this. And I have about 30, 40 students in the Adronis classroom. I've had about 100 students in the Etherics Academy. And they have basically wanted that new life. And there's people that fall away, right? Because they're too scared. They're too scared to live, and they're too scared to die. They're afraid to live, and they're terrified to die. Because everything is outward. There's no inwardness. So what do? You shut down the program. You shut down the system. You take that big lever, and you black out everything. And you take time to go within. And I have worked 17 years to try to make this as simple for people as possible. Is to give you something so simple that I can't believe it works. I said, that's it. That's all there is. I'm teaching people in my classroom how to heal through the Aashic Records easily. I'm teaching people through my classroom how to use TTT and heal everything easily. Looking at the BCR technique, that's 30 days free on my YouTube channel. People have taken that. People have healed so much. It's free. Cord removal healing. Clear out your implants, clear out your emotional, mental problems, physical problems. Clear it all out. It's free. So little of you take it. I don't know why. Because that tells me the program, the system, has got to you a hell of a lot more than your own common sense judgment. You need to start looking in the mirror. Because again, it's everybody that runs to me every single week. Brad, what do we do? Brad, what do we do? Brad, how do we get out of this? Brad, how do we get out of this? I've already told you. Told you 1,000 times. In here is the answer. It's not out here. It's not through your neighbor. It's not through your parents. It's not through your partner. It's not through your kids. It's not through your grandkids. It's not through your grandparents. It's not through your work. It's not through some politico schmo on the television set. It's not through Joe Rogan. It's not through Candace Owens. It's not through Tucker Carlson. It's through you. Behold God. That's the truth of how things are. And it's up to you to see that. But I keep saying the same message. And I got people criticizing, oh, bro, you just keep saying the same thing. Yes, because I'm trying to get it through your big, thick head. The best way I can. Because I got to sound like a broken record. I got to keep saying the same things again and again and again. Because that's the way to go. This is how you do it. Because I've done the fucking thing. And that's why I'm telling you guys it works. Because I've done it. Because I've experienced it. I'm not some jabroni over here holding up a how to meditate book and free yourself from enlightenment. Just pay me $59.99 for the book. And then you're free. Bullshit. Right? I'm telling you that this is the way. Because everybody can do it. It's so simple. It's being able to look at yourself and surrender. And that's the key to it. Surrendering is the key. It's not forgiveness. It's not forgiveness. It's not turning a negative into a positive and all that new age fluffy garbage. It is surrendering that is the key. And you will see it. You'll see it through all the free things that I offer here, guys, and it's free for you. Yes, I charge for my sessions because my time is valuable, right? And that's what I do. But again, a lot of these things that are available for you are free. And pass it on to other people, please do. That's the whole idea. But again, like I said, I keep getting the same questions, and I keep giving you guys the same answers. Go within. Set yourself free. Clear out your traumas. Release your desires. Now you follow inspiration. Now you follow joy. Now you're in bliss all the time because you learn to listen to yourself. You trust in everything and you're not concerned. You don't care if you only have 20 bucks in the bank account. You know you're going to be fine. And you do. That's the key. The mirror does not control your life. You are the one that is reflecting what needs to happen through the mirror for the mirror to reflect it back to you. You're the one. Please remember that. All right? Thank you, everybody, for tuning in this week. I will see you again on Wednesday. Again, feel free to follow my TikTok channel because starting Monday, might even be earlier than that, we'll see. I'm going to start putting some short videos up on TikTok. A lot of my stuff is going to start moving forward to TikTok. Okay, I'll still be here for the webcasts. I'll still be here for Akashic Intelligence report, but TikTok is getting a lot of it because TikTok reaches more people than YouTube does in regards to people who want to be grassroots. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Blessings to you all. Namaskar. May it be well with you, and see you next week. Bye for now.